I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is New York City Councilmember Joann Ariola. Councilmember, thank you so much for joining me.
Great to be here.
There has been a huge hot button issue in New York City this past week. I would love to get your take on it. Just earlier in the week, New York City's congestion pricing officially went into effect. And this impacts areas on 60th Street and below on local streets, charging drivers who enter Manhattan via those streets $9 during peak hours. The price lowers during off-peak hours. What are your thoughts on this toll?
First off, I call it the shell game. This was something that Kathy Hochul paused just to help her down ballot candidates that were on the ballot for November 5th. And it was an effective pause. And then she didn't even have the decency to wait a respectable amount of time before she reinstituted it. And she lied again, I believe, by saying you're getting it at a reduced rate when she'll pull the same thing that London did at a reduced rate and immediately raise it as soon as it was enacted.
And we're kind of hearing something like that because now there are reports that the MTA's budget has a $33 billion hole in it. And how are they going to fill that but raising taxes, perhaps even a larger toll? What do you think about that?
I think the MTA is a money pit. Never, ever will it be enough. There will never be enough money. If they just took the fare evaders and made them pay their way instead of handing out literature so that they can educate them that they're supposed to pay when they get on a train or bus, as if, who doesn't know that? You know that there's a fee. And let's just talk about that fee. Not only were we hit with congestion pricing, but the buses went up. Your Metro card is now being charged extra. Your trains, the bridges and tunnels. This is ridiculous. This is Kathy Hochul's way of picking our pockets after she was voted in and an Assembly and Senate that agrees with her and rubber stamps everything that she does.
I ride the subway, I transfer trains, so I am on 4 trains a day. I see people hopping over the turnstiles all the time. So do you think, realistically speaking here, if you raise the price of the fare from $2.90 to $3 or whatever it's going to be, do you think all of a sudden someone who hops the turnstile is going to say, you know what, I'm going to pay that? Is that the effective solution? Should they put something else aside from the turnstile there? What does that look like? Because this solution, as you said, it almost sounds like not the most effective way to be managing the money.
They don't manage their money well. And maybe Jan Lieber should look at his $400,000 plus salary and what they spend on their administrative salaries. And when we talk about fare evaders, if it were a penny to get onto a train or bus, they're not going to pay. This is what they're doing. They evade the fares. What we need is true enforcement, so that they know that they're going to be arrested for fare evasion. It is against the law. Instead, we're just once again playing pat a cake with criminals that are recidivists and costing the taxpayers money on top of money. And who's really paying for it? I used to say the middle class, but you know what it is now? The working class poor.
I want to talk about the money because the MTA's 5-year capital improvement plan budget has a $33 billion hole in it. Its 2025 operating budget is $19.9 billion. So you don't think throwing any amount of money, that's going to fix it. You think that they have a money management problem. What's the solution here? Because you don't think congestion pricing is it.
Congestion pricing is not it. Congestion pricing is just burdensome to first responders, to municipal workers, to anyone who owns a business in Manhattan, to any of us who have to go into Manhattan in order to do our jobs. That's what congestion pricing burdens, and it is not going to help the MTA. It's just like when all the casinos were supposed to give money towards education, and then all of a sudden, downstate, where all the money is being spent at casinos, we're seeing so little of that money. It's going to be the same thing. The money that the city of New York is supposed to realize from congestion pricing will never be realized. It is a shell game, and it will pause again when Kathy Hochul needs to be reelected. And the voters need to realize that. They need to realize that she is literally being so disingenuous that it's actually criminal at this point for her to say that she cares about New Yorkers, wants to see New Yorkers get, their businesses to grow when she's taking money from their pockets. She didn't even consider our municipal workers and especially our first responders. We're talking about first responders that are already down in headcount, that have to go from one firehouse to another and will pay congestion pricing over and over again. She took their endorsement, and when they turned their backs on her, she picked their pockets, and that has to stop.
She paused this in June. I just want to note on the timing. She resurrected the congestion pricing less than 2 weeks after the election in November. Arguments for it, she has said these, and arguments for congestion pricing are that it's better for the environment. It will give the MTA money to fix the bus, the train, and the subway systems, and it will free up traffic in Manhattan. What do you say to those arguments?
I don't think that it will stop the congestion. What will happen is maybe in the congestion zones, it may have a lesser congested area, but in the non-congested areas, that's where you're going to see cars going in, parking their cars somewhere, out of the congestion pricing zone and getting into Manhattan other ways, taking the upper level of the 59th Street Bridge and finding creative ways of getting into Manhattan just to circumvent paying the toll. This is not going to help with the environment. It's not going to help with the congestion of cars, trucks, and people driving into Manhattan. It's just going to cause them to A, break the law by blocking their plates, or B, find more creative ways of getting in. Yesterday at the Whitestone Bridge, there was such a force of law enforcement there, at least 25 cars between State Patrol and New York City NYPD with 50 or more tow trucks just stopping people with obstructed plates and towing their cars away. Towing their cars. How long have we been telling the governor that we need legislation that will end ghost plates and unregistered vehicles? And she has never, ever had an appetite to even put forth legislation or allow it to be heard. Not Carl Heastie and not Andrew Stewart Cousins. But all of a sudden now, people trying to get back and forth to work who cannot afford the congestion pricing. Let's take our EMTs. Congestion pricing they have to pay to get into Manhattan is more than half their hourly rate of salary. They're not going to take the jobs anymore. And they're going to transfer out of Manhattan.